Exciting. I'm so excited to have you all. Thank you for joining in today. I'm super excited to share with you about self-love and what I've learned and my experience of self-love. I really For this particular webinar, I wanted to talk about how, when it comes to self-love, what I used to think it meant was sort of that thing about being in a bubble bath and eating chocolate and maybe having, going to a day spa or massage. And while I think they're all really great ways to be self-pampered, I believe that self-love is actually more about the positive internal dialogue that we give to ourselves. And often throughout my life, I've had experiences where I haven't had that. And I'm sure we've all read lots of self-help books, and they say that your thoughts and your feelings control your actions. And I found that when it came to me trying to control my thoughts and feelings, that just wasn't possible. For a long time, I felt like I was on this sort of negative, nagging train that would just talk really bad to me. Where I was at the point where I just, no matter what I tried, I wanted the noise and all that, just all that negative stuff inside my brain to stop. And it was kind of like the train crashed, I guess, in a big way, because I just sort of wanted peace. That's all I wanted, was this sense of peace that people have spoken about, that I knew was possible but didn't know how to get there. And so I prayed, and it reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. I was suddenly led down this rabbit hole. And so I guess I'm going to take you on the journey of the rabbit hole a little bit today and share with you how that miracle occurred for me, and the difference that it made in my life. I think of things like the moon. You only see the perspective that you can see it from, and even if it's a full moon, we're only seeing half of it. And when we look at things from a different perspective, that's when I think a miracle occurs. And that's what happened for me. And so hopefully today I can show you a new perspective on looking at yourself in a different way, and maybe some of the situations that you have in your life. I really highly recommend, if you want to jump in and you want to ask a question, I'm more than happy. I am recording the session, so you'll be able to go back. It'll be uploaded to YouTube, so you can watch it again, and if there's something in there that you missed. But also be aware that if you are sharing, that it will be out there, but also your story may potentially help someone else as well, which is why I'm happy to share mine. When it comes to things like guilt, I think we've all experienced it. Does anybody want to, maybe, like, if you can, just pop down maybe something that you're feeling guilty about at the moment? Like, it could be a piece of chocolate cake, or it could be some things that I've done in the past, like forgot my child at dance for a couple of hours in the dark. Or I told my daughter that she was completely fine and just whinging about her injured foot, but it turns out it was broken in three places. So there's lots of things that I've felt really guilty about. Does anybody want to share any of theirs? Oh, sticking to routine. Okay, yes. There's so many things that we have to juggle, and I'm not sure if everybody on here is a mum, but even just as a wife or as a human, there are so many things that we have to juggle in our lives, and trying to do all of the responsibilities, like we're told that we're meant to exercise right and eat right, and we've got to pay our bills, and we've got to work, and we've got to do all these things, and there's definitely a sense of guilt that comes from trying to get everything done. We can also get a sense of guilt maybe when we've been mean to somebody, or we've caused someone else pain. I find that that's a really tough one, when we've hurt somebody's feelings and we see them in pain. But there's also that weird guilt, like it's like when a police car is behind you and you haven't done anything wrong, but suddenly you feel like guilty. Has everybody had that? Yeah, not just me. uh, and recently, for those that don't know, I hurt my ankle, and I was on the yellow arrow, and I was just running really, really fast, and I tripped and sprained it so badly. And in the past, I would have taken Panadol and just walked on it and not worried about it. In fact, a couple of years ago, I had a really sore back, and for weeks and weeks, I didn't know what was wrong. But it turns out I had a kidney infection, and I ended up in hospital for 3 days. But because I wasn't listening to my body and I didn't give myself time to heal, it cause more problems. And so this time when I hurt my ankle, I laid down, I did rice, I rested, I iced it, I did compression, and I put it up. And I did it on Sunday, and today the swelling's gone down. It feels so much better. But during that time, I did start to feel really guilty because I wanted to, I'm responsible a lot of the time with the kids, cooking meals and doing things like that. And I really wanted to be out shopping and doing all those things. So what I did was some techniques that I want to share with you today to help me figure out what was going on for me, so that instead of just pushing through my feelings, I actually allowed myself to feel them. And it's interesting to see what comes up. So I definitely felt guilty because I wanted to be helping more with the family. And I also felt like I was being lazy. And it's crazy, isn't it? We think we're injured or we've hurt ourselves or something's going on, and we don't even give ourselves permission to rest, because we're so busy doing everything for everybody else. And I certainly have had, big clouds over my head and not been able to clear some of these feelings. And so what we talk about is doing them in a way that you're actually detaching from the feeling. And for anybody who I haven't met before, I think I know almost everyone. I'm Gerlinda. I'm a personal stylist, but I also help people to feel a lot of self-love and feel really good about themselves. So when you go into the world, you're happy and you're positive and you can be your authentic self. And that's the real key of today that I want everybody to get out of it, that you can feel more like yourself and clear yourself of some of these negative emotions and some of the things that are holding us back in our lives. And so one of the techniques, I'm not sure if you've heard of tapping, which is a really great one. So I'm going to pop some links at the end of the talk so you can find some stuff. So it's called EFT, and what you do is you tap on certain points and it gets you to talk about your feelings. And I don't know how, it's kind of magical, but somehow, I don't know if it's meridians or what it is, but it makes you feel much better after doing this process. Another process that I learned is called focusing, and this technique's been around, I believe, since the 1960s. It was invented by a psychologist. I think his name's like Eugene, and I will give you a link to this. But what I thought we could all do is go through an exercise if you're all happy to. Does that sound good? So I want you to think about something that you're feeling guilty for. So again, like I said, it could be something really minor. It could be, eating bad or not exercising or something like that. Or it could be maybe something that you've been holding on for a long time, like maybe you've done something that you truly believe is wrong or not right, or something that you don't want anyone to know about, which is totally fine too. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about what that is. So if you close your eyes for a minute, I want you to think about, so the first thing I want to do is I want to clear that space. I want to think about what that is. What's that situation? What is this guilty thing? Where did this guilty thing start? And we don't want to get drawn into the emotion of it. We more so want to think about what is this feeling, this that we might call it guilt. What is it? And what I want you to do is I want you to go into your body and feel whereabouts in your body. Now, our bodies are amazing things. They know what good feels like, but they also know what bad feels like. So if our body isn't feeling good, there's a reason for that. So I want you to think about where you hold this feeling called guilt. For some people, it might be their stomachs. For some people, like myself, I've held it up in my throat before. It might even be in your chest. You might feel like a constricting feeling. Once you can kind of get a sense of where it is, I want you to think of it as like an object or something that you could touch or feel. And so you could see it as a color. You could maybe get a sense like it might be sticky or it might be heavy. I think the one that I feel is sort of like a spongy ball in my throat, like I can't speak. For some people, it might be hard. In terms of color, it could be dark or it could be light. And when you've got an idea of what it is, and if you can name it, so it could be the squidgy black thing or it could be the hard yellow thing, whatever you can do to give it maybe 1 to 2 words. And once you've got those 2 words, you'll actually start to feel a shift. So there'll be something in your body the feeling will kind of, it won't feel quite the same. So you'll try to go back and find it, but it doesn't feel quite right. And that's how we know we've got the right words. So for me, if it's the squishy dark ball in my throat, and then I sort of start to feel that sense that it's just not the same anymore. It's kind of not there. And then we can go back to that original issue, and we can think, what do I need to know from this? Where have I maybe felt this feeling before? Is there a time in the past that I've felt this feeling? And then we're going to allow, without getting attached again, so we don't want to get drawn into the feeling, we just want to allow whatever messages are coming through from your body. It could be something, an action you need to take. So it could be an apology that maybe you need to make. It could be as simple as, picking up the phone and just saying hello to someone you haven't spoken to in a long time. It could be forgiveness of yourself for the thing that we're holding on to. Often when it comes to feeling guilty, we make ourselves feel guilty because we think that it's going to stop us from doing an action again, and yet it just holds us prisoner in that sense of that feeling. And so what we want to do is we want to move through and let it go. And once you've all got a nice sort of clear feeling, right, maybe around a message that you feel like there's an action you might be able to take or something you've been able to do, I want you to open your eyes. Did everybody feel the sense that something moved? Oh yes, good. That's amazing. I can't see the other people that are nodding. So if you don't have your camera on, maybe just type yes or no in the comments so I know how that felt for you. So this is a really great technique that you can just witness your emotions. You can do this for all sorts of emotions, whether it's fear or guilt or frustration. But what it does is it shifts it, and it gets us from actually feeling and being in the emotion to kind of looking at it maybe more as a witness and being on the outside of these feelings. And that's something that I didn't even know about myself. Uh, I used to just get so stuck into the feeling that I would maybe blame other people for how I was feeling or blame situations, and not recognize that it was actually the only person that feels my feelings is me, and I'm the only one that can work through it.